So I want to talk about suicide. And I know that's one of those words that makes people go, "Oh, are you okay?" And in Australia, we have this day and it's called Are You Okay Day. Spelt with an R, with a U, an O, and a K, and a question mark. Are you okay? And the idea is it's the one day that you ask people whether they're okay. And so here's the flaws. Here's why I think that day is a crock of shit. Is okay, so A, the first reason is because if someone isn't okay, okay, no, first of all, okay, so if you ask someone, are you okay? It can almost make them feel like there's something wrong with them and that they're broken. You can almost alienate them. Is that the correct term? You can make them feel like there's something wrong with them, and that will make them feel weird. And that could potentially make them ruminate. B, so I can think of three reasons. It comes across as self-indulgent. Like the person is more asking for themselves, are you okay? So they can kind of role play being the savior. When, because, okay, so imagine if someone asked, are you okay? And then you just unload all your shit onto them. They're going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was not ready for that. So, which leads to C, the last reason, someone that is actually contemplating suicide, if you ask them, are you okay? They're just going to say, yeah, I'm fine. Because how often do you hear that story that someone commits suicide and everybody says, I was not expecting that. They seemed fine. They seemed happy. So do you think Are You Okay Day works at all? I think it's fucking crock of shit. It's like self-absorbed, self-indulgent, narcissistic bullshit. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. So I'm someone who experiences suicidal thoughts. And before you go, are you okay? Just hear me out. So I think it's actually better to talk about it. We live in this very repressive society where you can't talk about things. You can only talk about these things. You can't talk about those things. Those things make me uncomfortable. You can't talk about the dark side of human human psychology, the human experience. You can only talk about fluffy, fuzzy, warm things. So we live in this repressive society. We do. And I actually think that if you talk about suicide openly, you're less likely to commit it. Again, because it's when you push it down, that's when it happens. And that's when people go, oh, he seemed happy. I don't know. He didn't seem like he was experiencing suicidal thoughts. It's because we're in this society that, even though we're trying to be open with Are You Okay Day, the reality is you can't really tell people what's going on for you. You can't. You can, like, you hire people. You hire a psychologist, you hire a therapist, and whatever. Because nobody, well, A, nobody cares. And look, within reason, like we have family, we have friends, but like they've got their own lives too. So it's not that nobody cares, although most people don't care because they've got their own bullshit going on. But it's also because no one has the fucking time. Everyone's like keeping themselves afloat. So my point is, I think it's actually better to talk about it. And I'm not saying it like, I don't mean it like, okay, everyone, let's talk about our feelings. Let's get in a circle. Let's talk about our feelings. I don't mean it in a gay way, like in a lame way. I don't mean it like that. I just mean kind of like what I'm doing. I'm talking about it. And someone could interpret this as, Jamal's crying for help. Don't commit suicide. Don't commit suicide. And that is like the worst reaction you could have, because that is not what I'm implying. Because if I was contemplating that, why would I be making a video right now? Wouldn't I just go do it? Why would I make a video? Because sometimes you can you can post something on social media, and if people interpret that as, oh, you're depressed, then suddenly they're saying, don't kill yourself. And you're like, what the fuck? Now I feel like you're labeling me as this thing. And it was just unnecessary. Now I actually feel worse. Now I feel worse. I feel stigmatized. And so, which leads me to my next point is, when I make these videos, I can't predict who will get offended by what. It's impossible. Now, it's one thing if I'm openly and deliberately being offensive about topics that are known to be sensitive, blah, blah, blah. It's one thing if I'm outwardly, let's say, being a jerk. It's one thing if I'm deliberately, like, you can tell I am deliberately trolling, looking for a fight. It's one thing if I'm doing that. But if I'm posting videos about things that are meaningful to me and it offends somebody, my point is, I can't predict how every single person that watches this will react, how they will interpret it. It's just impossible mathematically. It's just not possible for me to predict that. And after a certain point, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I have the right, if I want to post videos and I work within the community guidelines, why can I not post videos? I find it interesting. I find it a process of evolution, of understanding, of exploration. Why should I not do that? Because you maybe misinterpreted something, or you don't like me talking about something, even though I'm staying within the confines of the community guidelines. I actually think you need to go away, not me. I think you would be better off fucking off, basically. Just fuck off and don't watch this content. How hard is that to do? Why do you have to tell me that you're upset about something I posted? Have you ever considered fucking off? Just fuck off, basically. And you could just do your own thing, make your own videos, fucking do whatever. Like, I give a shit. Just like you don't really give a shit what I do. Except when I post something that fucking whatever, you think it's about you blah blah blah, or like I'm being passive aggressive or something. Like, just let me have this expression. This is my expression. This is my expression. You fuck off over there and do your expression. I mean that positively. I don't mean it negatively. I mean it positively. Like, if you just did that, you'd probably be happier too. You want me to disappear? I also want you to just disappear over there and do your own thing. I encourage you. So, I just wanted to say that. Uh, so yeah, I can't predict who will get offended. So if this offends you, can, I highly recommend just walk on by, just keep walking. What do you think I'm doing here? I don't even know who's watching this. Like, what do you think I'm aiming for here? What do you, what do you think this is? So here's the thing. This is a really tough period in history. Now, unless you've got rich parents, basically, you're probably a working slave for the rest of your life. I feel like people with rich parents, and I don't mean this with resentment, I'm just being very logical. I don't think you can actually understand. I don't think you can actually understand this situation, which is fine. It is what it is. A lot of rich people commit suicide, by the way, because I don't know, they feel like their life is meaningless. So, in one sense, this struggle of this time period in history is positive, because you're forced to like sink or swim, basically. And it's when you don't have that sense of meaning and sense of striving, that's when you go through the existential despair. That's when you go, who am I? What is my life? And all of that stuff. And I've been through enough of that. I have a minor in philosophy, by the way, which for whatever the fuck that's worth. And that's, yeah, I've had an interest in philosophy since I was 18, basically. And yeah, for whatever that's worth, because it's one thing to study philosophy and then it's another thing to actually philosophize. You get me? So, I mean, so this brings me, oh yeah, so there's that expression, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. So we're in the hard times, but the positive is it's going to create strong men. So we will be stronger men for it. I can't speak for women. You just go listen to a woman talk. All I can speak about is a man's experience, but it's probably applicable to just humans in general. Hard times create strong humans. That's probably the most balanced thing I could say. That's that's a quality for you. I'm just kidding. But so hard times, strong men, and yeah. So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about is higher education. So like university or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty much university, higher education. And I want to talk about that because, well, I have a lot to say about that. I'm I'm halfway through my second degree, by the way, for whatever that's worth. And if you're watching this and you're not sure what to do in life, or you feel like you fucked up, you went in the wrong direction for like many years, you realized it's not where you wanted to go, or it's not bringing the results you were hoping for, and now you've got to like change direction and it's going to take you a lot of years more. Just know I'm in that same fucking position, but I've been getting out of it. Like I've been taking steps towards getting out of it basically for the past few years, basically since you know what, since lockdown. That totally changed how I perceive the world and my place in it. And so if you're watching this, so all I can really recommend is the things that I've done and the paths that I've taken, because that's all I know in one sense. And ultimately, I do believe everybody has their own map that they need to follow, that they need to discover, they need to figure out. I can only say what's worked for me based on my experiences, based on my own thoughts and perceptions. And someone else can only say what's worked for them, but you've got to discover it for yourself. However, what I will say is that I personally recommend some kind of higher level of expertise. If you're watching this, you're probably an intelligent person, even if you don't think you are. So I'd recommend, if that's the case, which I believe it is, if you're watching this, that we actually need your brain. We actually need you. We need intelligent people in this world to do intelligent things. So my little nudge, if you're feeling lost, is towards study something, become a professional, become an expert, become a genius in a field, in a niche field, whatever you want. To me, I personally steer towards STEM. What is that? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But I know that's overplayed in this day and age. Everything's fucking technology, isn't it? But for me personally, that's what I would have studied if I didn't get caught up in music. Basically, when I was 13, I discovered the drum kit and I couldn't stop playing ever. It just became my whole life. I wasn't even in control. It wasn't even conscious. I just did that. And then when I was 15, I played my first gig. And then by the time I was 18, literally I finished my last high school exam. I got in a van and I went on tour like straight away. I didn't care about school. So this is the other thing. I encourage you to do some kind of higher educational study. However, I also think higher educational institutions are full of shit. That's the other side of the coin. I think it's a whole crock of shit. And I'm halfway through my second degree. So on some level, I believe in it. But on a deeper level, I think it's full of shit. Because it's basically just a certificate or symbol of your ability to endure something, to commit to something that lasts for 3 years or more, to endure it and to come out the other side. That certificate represents that. It doesn't mean you know shit about squat fucking doobie. Doesn't fucking mean diddly do. Doesn't mean shit. And in fact, universities can make you dumber in a funny way. Not dumber, but like can kind of make you closed minded. And they can kind of make you think you're smarter than what you actually are. And I don't think it actually teaches you how to think, personally. Maybe if you study philosophy, but even then, you're like studying how you're studying philosophy. You're not necessarily philosophizing. You're studying, like you're one step removed from being a philosopher. So yeah, I think it's full of shit. And that's just because I think learning is something you learn for yourself. You learn how to learn for yourself. And that's what gets you through a degree is you basically teach yourself. But the university didn't teach you. Maybe they did. Maybe they look, 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 okay. Maybe they did. Maybe you wouldn't have been able to do it if you didn't attend a university. And if you just thought you could teach yourself and then you just fucking couldn't do it because you got distracted by the myriad of distractions, as T.S. Eliot would say, distracted from distraction by distraction, something like that, to that effect. So that's why I'm studying. That's why there are positives to higher education. But what is it? It's a Mark Twain quote. He says something like, "I never let schooling no yeah, I never let schooling get in the way of my education." He says something like that. And I don't think anyone could say it any better and more succinctly than that. A university degree will just be representative of what you're able to endure mentally, intellectually, but the learning happens on the job. The learning happens on the job. And the learning is what you do outside of the degree. You just do what you have to do to get the degree. So if you're watching this, you're probably very intelligent. I hope that you study something, become an expert in a niche field, become a fucking genius, fulfill your genius potential. And it doesn't have to be university, just something. There's many examples of successful people dropping out of university, but don't just drop out because you want to be like successful people. Like just you should you should at least have a go and do something. But so that's what I'll suggest. That's what I'll suggest. But it's a suggestion. Okay, it's a suggestion. I've just done some exams and I nearly quit multiple times. Multiple times I nearly quit. And people who I speak to can attest. They know all about how I nearly quit. So, but I made it through. I limped. I limped over the finish line. That's how it was put to me. I had to like speak to a fucking like university staff member, like a support staff member, because I was ready to quit. And they were like, "Look, do you want to limp over the finish line or do you want to quit now?" Like they were kind of saying you could do either one. They weren't saying it like, "Look," it wasn't like Rocky Balboa saying like, "You want to quit now?" You want. It wasn't like that. They were just kind of saying, if you continue, you limp over the finish line. If you don't, you can quit now. But I chose to limp over the finish line. So anyway, that's what I suggest. If you're feeling lost, I'm in my 30s. I'm studying my second degree. And I lost my train of thought before. That's what I was saying. So I personally veer towards STEM subjects, but I didn't realize that because I got caught up in music and I didn't like school. I just didn't like waking up and going there, and I just wasn't interested in the subjects. But I actually believe if they were presented in a certain way, that I actually would have realized that I love learning a lot. But school's very like, oi, you gotta listen up. It's like crowd control. It's crowd control. So I had to realize in my 30s that I'm actually smarter than what my environment and my inner environment led me to believe. So I think that's the same for you. But anyway, look, we're at 20 minutes, so I better wrap this up. Hey, this is going to be such a large video file. That's a lot of data. It takes a lot of time to upload. Sometimes it doesn't upload fully, and then it's hard. I have to figure out where to store the data. It's a whole thing. I'm sure you go through it. It's like an issue, all this data. Like, where do we put it all? And what do we keep? It's kind of an issue, this data situation, but we're just going for it. We're like, fuck yeah, I need all the data. Give me more data, 100 gigs of data. Give me more internet data. I need more data. We can't get enough data. It's a data-driven society. Data science. Can't get enough data. Don't you think it's weird? We're just embracing it, and who's actually going, hang on, what if we have too much data? Where are we going to put it all? And there are very smart people that are thinking about this. But at the same time, it's like we're all just going ho with this data situation, and I'll just keep all my photos in the cloud. But what if we keep taking photos for the rest of our life? Do we just have to keep upgrading our plans so we can fit more storage? It's just getting a bit absurd. Where are we going to put all the data? The data doesn't just exist in the air. Well, I believe there is data that exists in the air. Well, if you're curious, you should look up what is it, the holographic principle that states that reality is two-dimensional or one-dimensional. I think two-dimensional, like flat. Or maybe it's one-dimensional. And it's based around black holes. Anyway, it's a bit of a detour, because the idea is once an object crosses over the event horizon of a black hole, basically the object disappears, but its information still exists. Which, yeah, I know, you can tell me what that means. The information about that object still exists, but the actual object is gone. It doesn't exist. And it's gone. So, therefore, there's this idea that the universe, reality, is actually like information that we perceive as a three-dimensional hologram, basically. And that makes sense to me, but the jury's out on that one. So, how did I get there? How did I get onto that, motherfucker? How did I get onto that? So, anyway, I recommend. I like maths. I like engineering. If I could go way back in time, I would study engineering. But I got caught up in music, and I'm grateful for it. I got to have incredible opportunities. But now that I'm in my 30s, I have to like study a degree that people study when they're fucking 19, early 20s. That's the reality of it, which is fine. I'll do it. I'll endure it. But there's definitely hard times. There's some hard times because I'm basically working and I'm studying, and I've had to pick up another job just to keep up with the cost of living. La, la, la. But I just know I don't want to future project too much, but once I have this degree, this expertise, and this recognition, this certificate of recognition, I will be in a much better position, even if I don't use the degree specifically or that knowledge of that degree. So that's my whole point. I hope you study something, like just whatever floats your boat, but just whatever it is, become a genius at it. I challenge you to do that. You can do whatever the fuck you want, really. But also, I would suggest doing something incredible, because that's what's going to make you want to live, is overcoming something really difficult. Because life is not easy. So you will feel more fulfilled, I believe, by setting a really difficult challenge, but one that you feel aligns with who you are and what you want out of life. Anyway, I'm going to shut the fuck up now. So I hope that was useful for you. Please let me know your comments, send me a message, subscribe, please subscribe, leave a comment, send me a message. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know how useful this was for you. 26 minutes, so I think that's good. 20 to 30 minutes, I think that's good. You've been watching Project Arkangelos. My name is Jamal. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, week, month, year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, baby.